Now, Damascus has agreed to move ahead with implementing a peace plan proposed by Kofi Annan, despite failures and international skepticism. The special envoy held talks with the Syrian president, who earlier accused the US and some of its regional allies of being partially responsible for civilian deaths in his country. RT's Maria Fanoshta is there for us and joins us live on the programme. Good to see you today. There certainly has been an atmosphere of a diplomatic gloom over Syria recently. Do tell us what else has been agreed upon at Annan's meeting with the country's leadership.
Well, UN and Arab League Special Envoy to Syria has described his meeting with President Bashar al-Assad here in Damascus on Monday as constructive. Kofi Annan has said that they've discussed and agreed on common approach on how to end violence here in Syria. He has said that it can only be done and should be done through dialogue, and has also stressed that all the sides being involved in this conflict should do their best to try to implement the six-point peace plan brokered by UN earlier in April in a better way they've been doing it before. Actually, indeed, the UN peace plan, six-point plan, hasn't been successful so far. We've been only seeing and witnessing escalation of the violence here in Syria immediately after it was announced. So it's absolutely clear that something should be changed in the way to implement that. And this is exactly what Kofi Annan has been stressing upon. There is also a very interesting detail. While talking about this common approach, Kofi Annan has said that we will share it with the armed opposition, but after that immediately he has corrected himself and said that I will share it with the armed opposition, and that could be considered as an indication that we will unlikely to see any dialogue between the current regime and the opposition anytime soon. Actually, that's not surprising, because President Bashar al-Assad has recently said that he is ready to talk to these people, while the Syrian opposition has made it clear there can be no solution and no dialogue is possible until Assad leaves. Well, while we see that international diplomatic efforts, peace efforts, are still continuing, it actually doesn't sound very optimistic so far, unfortunately. Back to you.
Well, indeed, Maria, certainly over the past number of months, during this 17-month conflict, President Assad has said to the rebels, meet me at the negotiating table, we can talk this out. As you mentioned just a moment ago, the rebels consistently refuse to sit down for peaceful negotiations. Understandably, though, the Syrian president feeling a lot of pressure as certain international players are bearing down on his country. He's had some harsh statements regarding some international players. What did he have to say?
Absolutely. We've been hearing recently very harsh statements from President Bashar al-Assad on foreign nations' involvement in this crisis in Syria. He has said that the US is trying to destabilize the situation here in the country by providing political support for armed gangs and terrorists operating here in Syria. He has also said that Saudi Arabia and Qatar are also involved in this crisis by providing financial support to the rebels and by arming them. And he has also mentioned Turkey, that he says is providing logistical support for the rebels. And answering the question whether US could be considered partially responsible for the deaths of innocent civilians here in the country, President Bashar al-Assad has given a positive answer. Yes, of course, he has said the US is responsible for people being killed here in Syria. Just a few figures. Opposition activists have been saying that up to 18,000 people have died since the beginning of the uprising last March, while UN and Damascus-based human rights groups estimate it's around 10,000 people, but still a lot of people. I have to say that we've been hearing all these statements from President Bashar al-Assad just days after we've been getting conflicting reports from the international community earlier, following the Friends of Syria meeting in Paris that unilaterally condemned the Syrian regime of violences and atrocities in the country, and Geneva meeting and UN Security Council a week before that agreed and recognized that both sides of the conflict are equally responsible for atrocities, and arms supplied to both sides of the conflict are equally fueling this crisis here in the country. Well, this crisis has been raging here in Syria for 16 months already, and many ask the question why it takes so long. And some analysts say that the most complicating thing is that while it's clear from one side there is a Syrian regime and Bashar al-Assad and his opponents it still remains unclear exactly who or what it is fighting against. And here's my report on that. But before you watch, I just want to warn you that you can find some of the images from this report disturbing.